How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to Muv-Luv Monday. Oh my gosh, it's been a while, but hey, the good reason for it. So, just in case you missed some of the community posts I was making, I got really sick. It was kind of a bad roll of the dice. Strep kind of ran its way through my household, which is, not fun in and of itself. But then for someone like me, I've got asthma. And as you probably become aware over the past couple of years that when you have asthma, it can kind of mean that normal illnesses can run a little bit more rampant. And that's exactly what happened to me, is that the strep turned into bronchitis. And so I was essentially sick for 2 weeks. And it was pretty rough. It's not uncommon for me. It happens maybe once every few years that I catch something that then evolves into something a little more fun. And it probably means that later in life I'm gonna have a lot of interesting wrestles with things like pneumonia. So yeah, this is the way life is. I do the best I can, take care of myself the best I can, but sometimes I get sick. And unfortunately, when you get sick with bronchitis, not only is it tough to breathe and you are hacking and coughing a lot, but it also really affects your throat. So I just couldn't record. So thank you so much for your patience, but we are back on track this week, or we should be. So you probably need to forgive me. I might cough more than usual, and I usually try and cut that stuff out, or at least minimize the impact it has on the recording. But if it's going to be a lot more frequently, and because it might sneak up on me, it might not be something I can do. So I'll apologize right now in advance in case there are any coughing episodes during this video. But anyway, we'll get back into it. I'm glad to be back. I missed this, and I'm really curious to see where this is going to go. So last time, just again, a lot with the heavy hitting, the world's kind of in a crap hole right now. We had a lot of interactions working with civilians, and then we also went to the American base, and we saw a lot of the innate tension that's going on amongst the American soldiers and the Japanese soldiers. It's hard not to see that. There's very limited space and resources, and the Japanese can, in this situation, they're essentially refugees, and they can feel like they're just leeching off the system that's already at a breaking point. But then again, you also got to you think the Japanese just lost their homeland. They're sacrificing their own lives, livelihoods, and safety in order to help provide for the Americans. It's one of those situations where there's no bad guy, but people are so frustrated, scared, and cornered, they feel like they have to find something to attack, something to feel upset about. But when they figured out who he was, Hibiki got a measure of respect, but it doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of tension going on. And then the other members of the troop kind of pitched in the conversation, but we're kind of having a reconciliation about the after effects, whether or not the choices we made were right or not. And now we're talking to Ellen about being Canadian and facing the challenges of having been part of what's now essentially an enemy force. So yeah, it's cheery all around. Let's jump into this, and yeah, I hope we enjoy. We will, but let's hope it's not too depressing. Well, again, it's Muv-Luv, so we'll see. Anyway, now that's been some time that you joined the Imperial Forces, do you have any regrets? Oh yeah, that's an interesting question.
えああ、ない。それは絶対にないわ。帝国には良くしてもらってると思ってるから。安心して。
What about family, friends? There's gotta be other people that you, care about, right? And it's also your culture. It's not really normal to just feel like you can just up and abandon where you came from. It's always gonna be a part of you.
子供じゃないんだから、自分の国、自国民がまず大事って理屈はわかるわ。当然の話よ。
Right.
持てる国が持たざる国を刺激するなんてことも、バビロン以前も同じだったし。それに、帝国軍にも難民部隊があって、英士では少ないけど、歩兵やその他雑役には結構いることも知ってるわ。
Right. Usually not given positions of like real impact authority. And in fact, you might even say like refugees are often probably thrown into the not wanted jobs.
待遇はあまり良くないということも、生活環境が悪いことも知ってる。その上で、後悔はしていないわ。
No, at least she's honest.
それなら、いいんだけど。大丈夫よ。私はリアリストだから。
I'm a realist too. I enjoy being... Like, I think it's good to be a realist. It's nice. It's like... It's too easy to get burned if you're too optimistic. And life's too depressing if you're too pessimistic. You need a balance.
現実か。俺は対人類戦争をやってた東からベータと戦う西に来て少し安心もしていたし期待もしてた。これでやっと人類が団結して敵に当たれるって。
Yeah.
理想論だったよな。そんなんだったらバビロン前からとっくに団結してるか。
Isn't that depressing? Like, certainly there was a lot of, like, coordination and unity that came across when there was, like, a common enemy, but it's like, just because there's a kind of well-publicized and mutually agreed, like, enemy point or enemy, like, individual, doesn't mean at all that people are working together. Oh, look, there's a globe. I want to see the whole planet. Maybe the beta wouldn't have taken over half the world then. Japan and the United States have an uneasy partnership. On top of that, both countries have their own internal issues to deal with. Protecting our home might be harder than I first thought. Not physically, but mentally. Major Jinguji's words weigh heavily on me. But there's no point complaining. There's no going back to the good old days. I have no choice but to see things through to the bitter end. I can't run my mouth after duty and responsibility and let everyone else do the heavy lifting. Not after I realize how hard the Major's working herself and how hard everyone else is trying. I have a goal now. I gotta do my best to avoid losing sight of my ideals. It's just that. Reality keeps getting in the way. Look at that. It's the same lesson Takaru was, like, had to go through. It's almost like... It's like when they wrote this story, it was like they took what... They took Takaru's, like, journey and kind of got to where he was at the end of Alternative, and it's like we're continuing that lesson. You know, like Hibiki is coming off of his own, you know, like really harrowing story where he lost a lot of his friends and like his world got turned upside down. You know, after he already had, like, kind of learned how to, like, have his own pillar to fight for and, like, give himself a reason to, like, fight for all his might. But now we're kind of seeing how, like, that doesn't just end there, and it's not like it's less complicated because you find what you want to fight for and it's, like, worth, like, giving everything for. Now it's like, you gotta avoid losing sight of that, what you finally gained, but you still have to make time for the rest of the world. I could do without all these obstacles in my path, but it's thanks to them I've become aware of the contradictions all around me. Ain't so different from what the middle management goes through. And yanked back to, like, normal, kind of happy stuff. Hey, Shizuku, thank you. Yeah, everyone's like,
大体好きになってもローテーションは変わってないと思うんですけど、つい何か聞いてないですか？孤児施設の訪問？あ、その任務もあるって前に言ってたわね。
Well, you say it's charitable, and yeah, there's going to be a bit of charity and, like, giving. It's probably good for your heart and soul and all that, but it's also probably to try and inspire... Because what's the best thing for orphans to do? Go into the military. Like, it really is the best thing for them.
ちょっと待ってろよ。
ちょっと待って。I remember making a copy of this month's itinerary, and I'm pretty sure I wrote that down, I think.
あ、ほんとだ。 明日の予定は児童育成特別措置法関連施設訪問。これだろ?
Now that's a mouthful. If I make Miono write that down, I bet $5 she couldn't get a word or two in a row without spelling errors. Amen to me. That's what I'd do.
そうです。
Whoa, that was yes, that's it. Is a pretty mild translation of so.
けど、俺たち孤児院で何やるんだ? 前に憧れの存在だってことは聞いてたけど、具体的に何をすりゃいいんだ?
I made a mental note to check later. Didn't help, but I completely forgot.
ですね、講師なんですけど、対象は主に英士訓練課程にいる子たちです。講師といっても、別に授業とかではなく雑談ですね。英士をやるってどんなものなのかを車座になって語って聞かせたり、疑問に答えたりするような。
Something tells me that's gonna have some kind of innocent, harrowing experience. Like, it's gonna be like, oh, this is fun and sweet, and then someone's gonna say something that's gonna be like, oh, my soul!
はは、なるほどね。
みんなも楽しみにしてるんですよ。
Yeah.
はあ、でも、英士の話なんて聞いて楽しいもんか?
それはもう、だってかっこいい戦術機に乗って悪い宇宙人をやっつけるんですよ。
Gosh, she's so like, it's funny because like she's really mature for her age, but at the same time, she has like that childlike point of view that's just inherent of like not somebody who's like, I mean, it kind of is emphasized by her childlike like physical appearance, but I almost think it would be more impactful if she looked more mature and talked like this. But like that's probably what she will do because like there's a mental innocence there and a mental like childishness that she clings to. I think it's part of her, the way she handles like strain and other problems. Easy to understand the appeal when she puts it like that. I want to be a surface pilot myself when I was a little kid.
明日の訪問、雫は特に楽しみにしてるのよね。
I mean, yeah, remember, it's like an extension of her own family. Like, because she doesn't have a family.
もしかして、ミオノが育った施設なのか?
はい、タコマにはいくつかのこういう施設がありますけど、
Oh, wow.
私がいたのはズバリ明日行くところです。
It's literally her family then. Dang.
私は昔から施設を転々としてましたけど、ここに来てから任官するまでそこにいました。あそこの院長先生はすっごくいい人なんですよ。
No wonder she's looking forward to it. Okay, I get it now.
そうか。それじゃ、俺も会うのが楽しみだな。
本当に優しいお母さんなんですよ。きっと注意のことは気に入ると思うな。
あら、響ったら、もう雫のお母さんにご挨拶？最初が肝心よ。失礼のないようにね。
It still makes me laugh, but I kind of saw that line coming a mile away.
何を言ってるんだね、エレン君。
ほんとツッコミどころを見つけるのが上手よね、エレンは。注意もいちいち反応しすぎです。
Yeah, but that's part of the fun.
ん？
Oh, come on, Shizuku, you should at least know that one.
ところで、英士訓練課程にいる子供ってのは何人ぐらいなんだ?
At this point, probably all of them.
12歳過ぎぐらいの子たちだから。
Oh, okay.
そうか。徴兵が10歳だから、そこから適性を見て振り分けて、12歳前後ってところか。改めて聞いても、やるせねえな。
Yeah, tell me about it.
でも、徴兵年齢の低年齢化には、確かに問題もあるけど、逆の面もあるわ。
Yeah, I mean, get him in early and brainwash him quick. That makes it perfectly great.
逆の面？
そう。当然だけど、今は精神的に不安定な子もかなりいるわ。そんな子供に、未来に希望を持たせてあげられる。
Kind of makes you think about refugees in general. Like, kids, it's the hardest thing to see caught up in dangerous and terrible situations. And thinking about, like, how's that going to affect their entire life, you know?
希望。
How's that supposed to work?
少なくとも、 親や友人や故郷を奪った外敵と戦う能力を身につけられる。復讐する力を得るというのは、子供たちの精神を安定させる一工程としては有効だわ。
I guess I get that. Also seems really unhealthy.
それは。
戦う力。
This is where we adults should, is this what we adults should be teaching our children? Yeah, this kind of heralds back to, again, to like, when all's said and done, even if the beta vanished today, what kind of a world are we even left with? Like, all these people know is how to fight, how to survive. Like, again, I think I said it before, but it's like, of course, they immediately turned on each other the second they thought the beta were gone. Like, the dust hadn't even settled. The planet was still like had self-obliterated. And before we even like had established like proper communication channels, people were already just massacring each other and like in like actual combat engagements. Like wars kicked off and beta actually are still around. You know, like it's kind of like the result of like a culture that's been beaten into like fight or flight. Like it's cornered, but like you're talking about children who are being brought up that all they can feel like they can do is fight. Like even if the beta vanished, you know how long it would take for humanity to kind of like get back to where we are now, where a majority of us like don't have to live in fear every day, to where we can shoot for and like set goals to try and find mediation and solutions to war that don't involve like all-out assaults. And even then, like look how much we're not succeeding in that regard. But in a world like this, it's like it's hard to imagine like, because it's kind of like Marimo's dream. Remember, she wanted to build a world where educators were needed, where like they didn't have to just shelve all these amazing things like philosophy, economics, creative writing, art history, like all these subjects that are just so impactful and kind of important in their own right and way, that have all had to be like essentially like disregarded because of the crisis of the beta, and now the crisis of post-Babylon. What a world.
異論があるのは当然のことだと思うけど、虚無感、無力感といった感情は簡単に人間を殺すわよ。
She's right. Yeah, hopelessness kills.
こうした任務によって立ち直り、現実と戦う力を身につけた子供たちを、私はこの目で見てきた。
Hate to admit it, but surface pilots as young as Miyono or Suzuhara must be nothing out of the norm since we settled in Tacoma. This is the dark reality of Japan. Now I've seen it firsthand, I can no longer close my eyes and block it out. And even the Americans are criticizing it. Like, I doubt that their situation is much better, but it still sucks.
だから私はそんな子たちを少しでも勇気づけられたらいいと思ってる。
Excuse me.
それがエレンの考えなのか。
はい。どんな方向であれ、まずは戦う気力を与えることから始まると思っています。
I told Lieutenant Hill the Empire wasn't sending kids to fight our battles. After hearing Ellen's take on the matter, I'm not so sure anymore.
響にせよ、ゆずかにせよ、私にせよ。おそらく思いは同じよ。彼らを戦場に送り出すのは早すぎる。
Yeah.
そうだな。どんなに譲歩しても、俺の感覚ではミオノより下はありえない。
Even Miono's pretty, like, I feel like Miono's age is already a line that we've crossed.
ええ。でもそれは大人の勝手な言い分。現実を直視していないのよ。この子やその弟、妹たちが生きていくためには、戦う以外にない。
Imoto. Ellen must have been desperately trying not to laugh in scorn when Lieutenant Hill gave us that speech. I'm sure she thought it was insane to expect that a country like the Empire, one that lost its motherland and whose population was decimated, could afford to let kids grow up exactly the same as during peacetime. But I don't blame the Americans for being naive. You can't just accept all this as a matter of fact. It's the sort of thing that makes you question everything you believe in.
子供たちのこと、ずいぶん気にかけているのね。それが本気だということは十分伝わるわ。
それが私にとって大切なことだからよ。雫と知り合えたことに感謝しているから。
エレンちゃん、ありがとう。
Yeah.
孤児のみんなが雫みたく強くなれたらいいね。
I agree. We'd be in a pretty good place if we had a whole army of Suzuku. Strong, huh? That's a word with a lot of different meaning. Everyone needs to grow stronger these days, even if that same strength might come back to haunt you. It's because if you're weak, you're useless. Nothing more than an extra mouth to feed. I'm sure there would have been staunch opposition to our current policies in the days before the Babylon disaster. Nowadays, however, barely anyone even bats an eye. It's like, well, like, can they? I mean, we're in they literally... It's hard to imagine a situation much worse than the one we're currently in. As for me, it's not like I'm giving up on my ideal or compromising, but some things you just gotta accept. After all, I've seen Miono in action. I can tell she's trying to become the best surface pilot she can be. Must have been her childhood dream, like so many kids. Like Suzahara. October 12th, 2005. Oh boy, here we are. There's a barbed wire fence surrounding this place. All familiar. Yeah, this ain't the best part of town. How come nobody thought about building an orphanage closer to downtown?
どうしたんですか？周囲を気にされてるようですが。
I felt like there was another frame in there that it just, like, blinked through. Was I crazy there?
あ？特になんでもないけど、こんなところにガキどもを集める施設を作るとはなってな。
I mean, sometimes you just put it where you put it.
この辺は軍関連施設が集められた区画ですね。住人たちの動きを警戒しているのかもしれませんね。
That's also true. And then, I mean, if a lot of them are being trained, you know, in military, it's almost like you could almost see this as an extension of, like, the military camp, essentially.
みたいだな。
So what? They think the locals are gonna loot a friggin' orphanage or something? Make the poor little kids pay protection? This ain't as bad as what I saw at the E7 construction site, but it goes a long way towards showing the government has absolutely no trust in its people.
それだけ現実が厳しいってことか。孤児収容施設だって外から見れば軍管理の施設だもんな。
Well, it's essentially the future, the backbone of the country's military at this point.
個人というより、孤児たちを生産力に転化するための施設ですから。生産作業と勤労奉仕は大事ですよ。
I like how she's so cheerily talking about casual child labor. Ray! Not pulling your punches, I see. Sometimes I get the feeling our resident schoolgirl is more of a jaded veteran. Miono's pretty young, but already way less idealistic than me.
今は公的な施設はほぼ全て軍の管理下ですからね。息苦しく思う人もいるのでしょうね。
Yeah, I'm one of them.
なるほどね。
Elementary education, learning a trade, and on top of that, surface pilot training. It's like the military runs their lives.
みんな雫姉ちゃんだ。
Aww.
本当だ、雫だ。おーいみんな、雫姉ちゃんが来たぞ。
Whoa.
すごい人気だな、ミオノは。
食い物が来たぞ。
What?
雫姉ちゃん、食い物。
Oh.
一郎くん、先生を呼んできてくれるかな？
おお、任せろ。で、その前に食い物は？
はいはい、後で配るから先に呼んできてね。
待ってろよ、エレン。先に分けちゃダメだぞ。
So they've obviously visited before. Careful, kid. Terrible manners. But that's what the ball brats are like, I guess.
ところでミオノ、食い物なんか持ってきてたっけ？
大丈夫です。私とエレンちゃんでこっそり貯めた甘食と神宮寺少佐からの差し入れがありますので。
Naturally, she does.
ここにちゃんと。
おー。
So even Major Jinguji had something prepared. That woman's literally on top of everything. Wish that they would have told me, though. I could have pitched in. Well, probably slipped their minds. This has gotta be like going back to visit family for a meal now.
すみません、注意。
What? Why is she apologizing now?
私のミスです。二人には私から言っておきますので。
Yuzuka, you're sweet. But you can't be doing what you can't be just taking the blame for every little thing. I do that too much in my real life. You're making me feel embarrassed about myself because you're like too much a reflection of me sometimes. I just realized Yuzuka's like a female version of me in a way. Like remember I've been saying up till now that like, oh yeah, I totally get where she's coming from. I totally get like that. I behave a lot like her. It's really started to become creepy because it's like looking into a female mirror. Like, it's weird. Why is that little girl staring at me?
あら、どうしたのかな。お姉さんに何かご用かしら。
Yeah, who is she?
ねえねえ、しずく姉ちゃん。このちっちゃい大人の人、
Little.
誰？
Excuse me? Stab?
俺は小さくはないぞ。それほど大きくないだけなんだ。君は名前はなんて言うのかな？
聞いてどうするの？
ん？
変態。
Hey, no.
ん？
変態だ。変態が出た。
So that's the kind of visit this is gonna turn into, huh?
俺？
I'm the creep.
かずみちゃん、そのお兄さんは変態さんじゃないよ。ちょっとエッチなだけ。
He's not hentai. Johto ecchi. I heard that.
まあ、神宮寺少佐との一見がありますしね。完全なフォローは難しいかと。
Yuzuka, no! Dude, that doesn't help at all!
だっていきなり女の子の名前を聞いてくるんだよ。変態だよ。しずく姉ちゃんが変態連れてきた。ほら、誘拐される。持ってかれる。
That's kinda cute.
ご愁傷様。
エレンまで。
To Ellen.
注意。まあまあ、お気を落とさずに。もう、いい加減にしずく姉ちゃん怒るよ。お土産なしにしちゃうからね。ごめんなさい。
Oh, she's just teasing me, right? Yeah, that's gotta be it. Silly me.
なんだか一人でニヤニヤしてる。やっぱり変態だよ。
You're tearing me apart, little girl. You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
どうやら気に入ってもらえたみたいですね。ここの子たち、警戒心強いから。
I mean, that's fair. Makes a lot of sense. If anything, you're providing an excellent source of entertainment, so be happy.
ね、そうなのか？
ええ、基本的に軍人は苦手みたいなんです。年長者が軍事教練で絞られてるのを見てるからでしょうね。
Right, right. Yeah, I'd feel the same way.
ですから、男性の兵士がここに来たのは、実は初めてなんですよ。
Wow.
そうか、そうだったんだ。じゃあ、どうして俺が？
周囲にはそんな雰囲気が全くないからじゃないですか？でもよかったじゃないですか。気に入られたみたいで。あれ？
It's like, you just reinforced everything they've said.
ごめんなさい。ちょっとフリーズしてるみたいだわ。
ああ、周囲の理想はマッチョだって言ってたっけね。
注意。ほら、しっかりしてください。背筋伸ばして。
はい。
いや、俺は一体。
おーい、しずく姉ちゃん、先生連れてきたぞ。
小手川先
Kotagawa.
まあまあ、しずくちゃん、元気だった？お手紙ありがとね。
生。今度は 私所属する隊が変わったんです。こちらが私の上官の立浪中尉と先輩の仙道少尉です。
お初にお目にかかります。帝国軍第一戦術機構大隊立浪響中尉であります。
同じく仙道柚香少尉であります。
ここで職員代表を務めております小手川でございます。しずくちゃん、
こちらこそ。
Dang it.
彼女にはいろいろと助けられています。
The curse strikes again, my hand. This lady must be the one who's taking care of Miono. She seems nice.
そうですか。お役に立てていればいいんですけれども。しずくちゃん、体調を崩したりしていませんか？
Is that... should she?
はい。今のところは元気に頑張ってくれています。
I wonder if she's hiding something from us.
ならいいんですけれども。
Wait, Miono had a weak constitution or something? This ain't the kind of question you ask as a matter of courtesy. And it's doubly weird considering her file didn't say anything about any pre-existing conditions. Can't say I noticed anything of the sort either. She's been a bundle of energy since day one.
ささ、こんなところでご挨拶もあれですから、どうぞ中の方へ。
では失礼いたします。
Weird.
それでここをほら
You know what? Hang on. Ain't this a familiar sight, right? With it's immediately sending me on flashbacks to alternative. You know what? To make me think, so she like was sickly before. Knowing Miono, you know what I bet it was? I bet you she was like not eating all of her meals and like giving her food to the other kids. So she was like not properly like she didn't have proper nutrition, so she was like kind of sickly. But now that she's in the military, she's getting full meals. And that's probably the big difference there. Oh, this is cute though. Look at that.
しずく姉ちゃん、すごいすごい。しずく姉ちゃん、次はこれ。はいはい、ちょっと待っててね。エレン、こっち来てよ。早く。
了解。どうした？
We're both still at home dealing with the kids.
しずくちゃんにはいつもよくしてもらって、あの子がここを出てから入ってきた子たちもみんな懐いてくれて。
Look at that. They're not even sleeping on like pads. It's like a slab of wood that they have like and a blanket and a pillow. Oh gosh.
そうですか。
つまらないものですが、裏の菜園で収穫したお芋で作ったお菓子です。ぜひお召し上がりください。
Oh man, potatoes are super versatile. Like, there's an interesting channel I started following on YouTube where he often does shorts where he like has been showcasing like old like baking recipes that like just from a while ago. A lot of them like from the Great Depression. So it's like a consolidation of like using ingredients when they were in short supply and food was really expensive. Like people got creative with like the limited food they had and made these really interesting recipes, and that's kind of what's reminding me of it. Like there's so many that like have a basis of potatoes that can be taken in so many interesting directions. It's really cool to see.
いえ、そのようなお気遣いは無用です。軍務ですので、その分を子供たちに。
その子たちが今日いらっしゃる皆さんにと言って作ったんですよ。さあ、どうぞ。
I mean, don't gorge yourself, but like the kids made it for you. This is troubling. Typically, you aren't supposed to accept anything while you're on duty, but it'd be bad manners to refuse.
注意、いただきましょうか。
This is like one of those times where you make an exception, Lieutenant. Come on.
そうだな。では、喜んでいただきます。
頂戴します。
Bet on the plain side, but
うまい。
ほんと、懐かしい味です。
それは何よりです。
ところで、菜園とおっしゃいましたが、どのようなものを栽培しているんですか？
I'm actually gonna do that this year. I have a little bit of a flower garden that I kind of I've worked on for a couple years, but last year it really kind of became something nice. Like it actually looked good. I think I even posted pictures of it because like I was really proud of it. And so this year I'm going to be turning up another part of our bed, and I'm going to try and plant a little vegetable garden. So I'm excited to do that this year. As a matter of fact, I need to get that started, I think, this week.
菜園と言いましても、草と名が付くものは毒さえなければ食料ですから。何でも生え放題ですよ。
As long as it's edible and not poisonous. You'd think edible and poison like it would be like, well, I guess you could say that like, there are some foods that like are both like where you can eat the fruit but the actual plant is poisonous. So maybe that's like the restrictions. Like they want to make sure no kids, like young kids, accidentally like poison themselves.
一応野菜らしいものはさつまいもやネギ、ニラ、枝豆、他にもあれこれ試しましたが、土のせいかなかなか難しくて。
Yeah, I bet the soil's not the best.
やはり塩素風の影響が。
Yeah.
ええ、子供たちが生産任務で覚えてきたことを取り入れたりもしているんですが、うまくはいかないものですね。
野菜の種はどこからすべて配給されたものをやりくりしているんですか？
Ah, that's a good point.
それはもういろいろ。もちろん配給でいただいたものを植えたり、その辺の草を取ってきて植えたり。
That's kind of cool.
児童育成施設ということで、食料などは優先的に回していただいておりますけど、子供たちは食べ盛りですからね。
The double-edged sword there, it makes sense. Yeah, there's no way they can make do with what little they receive from the government. And why they keep a vegetable garden in the first place. And yeah, I know she said they're growing herbs and all, but you can eat that too. Synthetic ingredients are the norm nowadays, so naturally grown food should be priceless. But when you have to choose between hoarding valuable resource or starving, that's a no-brainer. Man, I think we don't have enough synthetic ingredients. Now I can see why Major Jinguji's pushing so hard for that synthetic protein production plant.
書類によると、ここには30人の子供たちがいるとありましたが、職員名簿には先生を入れて3名しか記載がありませんね。
Dang, it's just like 30 children with 3 staff members, and that's kids from all ages. Like, that's essentially being a parent at 10 kids each, and that's like, again, that's your ideal situation. Like any type of parenting or any type of like child care at all. There are 3 staff members, but they have their own lives and they're all adults and like need time for themselves too. So there's gonna be times where it's gonna be one person overseeing all 30 children at once.
あとは皆さんのように授業ごとにその都度いらっしゃるんです。
大変ではありませんか？
一番大変なのは食事の支度ぐらいのもので、あとはもう子供たちがお互いに助け合ってやってくれますから。
That's good.
A 市教育課程にいる12歳以上の子供が7名。みんなのお兄さんお姉さん役ですか？
はい。もうね、よく頑張ってくれるんですよ。しずくちゃんもそうでしたけど、しっかりした子が多くて助かってますわね。
It sucks that kids have to be so grown up in this world.
中には難しい子もいるんじゃないですか？心に傷を負ってしまったような。
Musica, I think everyone is dealing with trauma. Like, I think the entire, like, all humanity is dealing with trauma. But I get why she's asking.
そうですね。専門治療が必要なほどの子はこの施設にはいません。でも心の傷というのは多かれ少なかれ全員が負っています。
These brats are tough as hell, man. They've got no food and suffer from trauma, but they're still growing up right. Well, they wouldn't be running all over the place if they were starving. Tough bunch, but they're also pretty darn cheeky. Guess I should act like a reasonable adult and look past a sassy remark or two.
おいおっさん、お前神宮寺少佐の部下ってのは本当なのかよ？
Yeah. Just take it all back. This little crap's pissing me off. Okay, no, keep it together. She's just a kid. Stay cool, man. Stay cool.
まあ黙ってないで教えろよ、おっさん。ケチくせえぞ、おっさん。
Can I punch this little turd?
一郎くん、言葉遣いが悪いよ。
Thank
しずく姉ちゃん怒るよ。
you, Shizuku.
なんだよ。そいつが教えてくれないのが悪いんじゃんかよ。
What was that?
一郎くん、お姉ちゃんたちはみんな神宮寺少佐の部下よ。間違いないわ。
おお、本当なの？美人のお姉さん。
She is pretty, that's true.
あら、お上手ね。本当よ。全員が神宮寺少佐直属の部下。第17小隊、ウォードッグなのよ。
ウォードッグ、すげえや、かっこいい。みんな、しずく姉ちゃん、神宮寺少佐の直属の部下になったんだってよ。本当？しずく姉ちゃん、エレン姉ちゃん、すっげえ。しずく姉ちゃん、すごいすごい。
I like how all these kids are already like, they know who Marimo is. Like, I know she's like become a very important critical part of like the structure, but it's like it's kind of amazing that like these orphans like know who she is by and like consider her to be like impressive. Like, it's really cool.
しずく姉ちゃん、すごいね。おめで。
Here it is, chance to regain my dignity.
一郎くんと言ったね。何を隠そう、この俺立浪響こそウォードッグ隊の隊長、ウォードッグ1なのだよ。
You're like, lame.
あ、
嘘だ。神宮寺少佐はこんな変なおっさんなんか部下にしないよ。
Can I kill this little turd now?
だって鶏見て変なの。
Okay, come on, Ichiro, you're really asking for it.
変なの。
もうふざけるのをやめないと本当に怒るよ。お菓子も配りません。
ごめんなさい。
一郎、君も謝る。
だってさ。わかったよ。ごめんなさい、立浪注意。
Mm-hmm. Huh? They're surprisingly obedient.
まあいいって。ま、元気があって結構なことだ。
だよな。このくらい大したことないってなあ、立浪。
ほら、謝れ。
ごめんなさい。
あははは、本当に元気が有り余ってるな。
He's like, you little turd. Enjoy while it lasts, kiddo. Once you get drafted, someone's gonna beat the little crappy attitude right out of you.
ところで、お話をする子たちが見当たらないようですが。
ええ、今日は勤労奉仕に行っていまして、解散してから帰ってくるまでの時間がちょっとだけすみません。
They're literally out working right now. Fetch, man.
いえ、そんなもんでしょう。
Who's the genius who forgot to account for their travel time? Even elementary schools have a strict timetable to follow. It's not right to make these poor kids spend a huge chunk of their day traveling back and forth, man. I'll have to let the major know.
じゃあ、先に子供たちに支給品を分けちゃいましょう。
え？いいのかよ。もう少しすれば戻ってくるんだろうし。
みんなもう待ちきれないんです。大丈夫。お兄ちゃんもお姉ちゃんもちゃんと分かってますから。
Yeah, that makes sense.
そうか。なら任せるよ。
じゃあ配るから順々に回してね。
Annoying little brats. The only time they're quiet is when they're getting fed.
先生、みんなに渡りました。
はい、じゃあみんなで。
いただきます。
Aw.
ねえねえ、立浪注意さん。お腹空いてる？これ一つ分けてあげようか？
Interesting. Aw, look at that. Girls are so nice. It's like night and day compared to that punk. I don't know if I should accept her offer, though. Kind of feel like taking candy from a baby, but since she's offered so nicely, might as well.
おう、サンキュー。ありがとうさ。これはクッキーか？
Pretty sure these don't come bundled with the standard rations. Did the kids bake them? Anyway, let's have a bite. Oh, wait. No! I know what's going on here! Don't do it!
うまい。いい匂いだ
Oh,
な。
I thought it was gonna be a prank. It's not that sweet, but still pretty tasty.
本当ですね。合成香料の配合が絶妙なんでしょうね。 どういうレシピなんだろう。
美味しいね。インドのお菓子みたい。
Indian dessert. I'm not sure what they're referencing, sadly. Indian desserts? Can't say I've tried it before.
お兄ちゃん食べたことないの？インドのお菓子美味しいよ。
そっか、お兄ちゃんも食べてみたかったな。
Maybe she got it from Indian refugee somewhere?
お姉ちゃんも食べてみたかったな。
わかった。今度もらったら取っとくね。
It's great that kids don't care about race. Heck, I don't even think they care about language. They'll just find a way to communicate somehow.
ほら、またサウスエリアに行ったでしょ。あまり関わっちゃダメと言ってあるでしょ。あそこら辺は危ないのよ。
Ah, so black market's probably where they were.
ごめんなさい、エレンちゃん。
What's wrong with the southern district?
闇市のあるあたりをそう呼ぶそうですよ。この前
エレンは心配性だな。大丈夫だって。それにあそこじゃなきゃ手に入らないものいっぱいあるんだぜ。知ってるだろ。
Still.
それは
Hmm.
ただいま。
おや、ようやく帰ってきたみたいですね。
それじゃあお兄ちゃんたちがお話を聞いている間、私たちはあっちで遊んでようか。
はーい。
構いませんか？いつも雫にはそうしてもらっていたのですが。
Makes sense.
なら慣例に従おう。
じゃあね、今度は違うのの作り方教えてあげるね。
よし、こっちもそろそろ準備すっか。
了解。
で、どうだったんだ？初の育成施設訪問は。なんかいい話でもあったか？
Hey, Matsukaza.
いや、別に。強いて言えば、いつの時代でもガキは元気だなってことが再確認できたって程度だな。
If I were in this world, I imagine that would be one of the highlights of my entire life would be visiting the orphanage based on what I saw.
元気ね。親亡くしてるわけだし、から元気だとは思うけどな。ま、元気なのは何よりだ。
Yeah, I mean, aren't we all doing that though?
いや、それがから元気っていうわけでもないみたいなんだよな。
どういうことだ？
確かに子供たちは親亡くして心に傷を負ってるが、なんていうか、それはそれ、これはこれみたいな感じというか、あいつらが無邪気な笑顔を浮かべるときは素直に楽しかったり嬉しかったりしてるんだと先生が言ってたぜ。から元気な子供の作る表情は見てりゃ一発でわかるってさ。
子供らしさっつうか、精神の単純さっつうか、それがよく働いてるってことなのかね。
No, I think the truth of the matter is just that we often don't give kids credit for what they can adapt to. It's kind of what's depressing about it though, and why like childhood abuse honestly doesn't get reported as much as it should, because when the signs aren't outwardly like apparent, and when they're not in like really dire straits, kids just kind of accept what their life is and move forward. A lot of times they don't even think to question. It's just the way life is, you know, they adapt. God. Can't even have a happy moment without it getting super depressing again, huh?
こっちをやると、あっちを忘れるみたいな。
さあな。ただ、やっぱり夜になるとその反動が来る子は多いみたいだが、夜泣きみたいなのは多いらしい。
Yeah, that's their brain processing the feelings they can't really acknowledge.
寝るだけになって、悲しいことを忘れさせるだけのものがなくなるからだろう。
だろうな。
Yeah. And since what Ellen said yesterday was right on the mark.
でも、徴兵年齢の低年齢化には確かに問題もあるけど、逆の面もあるわ。
Oh gosh.
逆の面。
そう。当然だけど、今は精神的に不安定な子もかなりいるわ。そんな子供に未来に希望を持たせてあげられる。
希望。
少なくとも 親や友人や故郷を奪った外敵と戦う能力を身につけられる。復讐する力を得るというのは、子供たちの精神を安定させる一工程としては有効だわ。
Yeah. You have to make kids focus on something. I give them a goal they can work toward. Revenge wouldn't be my first option, but anything helps. I realized yesterday that Alan had the right idea, but after today's mission, I've grown more convinced than ever. It needs to be done. This is the only way to protect the present and future of this country and their fragile minds.
ところでお前、ガキどもの訓練風景って見たことあるか？
No.
いや、まだだ。今日は話をしただけだったからな。
あれは異常な光景だぜ。俺も実際に教えたのは数えるほどしかないけどな。
Quite unusual. How?
お前さ、初めて射撃した時のこと覚えてるか？
覚えてるよ。
初めて撃った緊張が解けてくると楽しくなっちまうじゃん、あれって。
Yeah, that's true.
でもって、にやけてるのがバレて、教官に説教されるとかな。
Man, that takes me back. I wonder how many years it's been.
そうそう、そんなもんだよな。でもな、奴らは違うんだよ。俺も最初はな、緊張してるガキどもも撃ってるうちに笑い出してくれんじゃねえかなって思ってた。くったらねえことかもしれねえが、俺も連中が笑ってくれることを心のどっかで楽しみにしてたんだ。
But what happened?
違ったのか。
ああ、奴らは違ったね。撃てば撃つほど瞳が暗くなっていくんだ。
Well, that's
だんだん表情が消えていき、最後は真っ黒な穴が開いたみたいな目をしやがる。
that's not good. I just got chills. That's dangerous. If they're being disconnected from combat, if they're doing it without emotion, that's dangerous. That means they can disassociate what they do when they're in warfare, and that can lead to really terrible atrocities.
軍隊式で育ったガキは不気味だ。あいつらは俺たちとは違う人種だ。別に腐すつもりはないが、何年経っても俺には理解できねえと思う。
That might be the big downside to training them when they're so young, is you rob them of like being able to have experiences that help them make a core attachment to anything beyond just military life. How are you supposed to convince them to like fight for anything? Like, it's like their whole life is to fight, not to fight for a cause, like defense of their families and their homeland. Like, maybe your childhood is where you make those connections that give you kind of like a reason to fight. And so like when your whole reason to fight becomes just because that's what you do, that's a dangerous road. That's a really dangerous road. Man.
しかも救いようのないことに、ある程度の年齢までいったガキは親元から強制的に引き離して軍隊で育てるつもりらしいぜ。
Oh gosh.
それ本当なのか？冗談だろ？
わからん。まだ噂のレベルだけどな。バビロン作戦前のソ連なんかじゃ採用してた政策らしい。
Right. Separate kids from their parents, have them live in the communal facility, foster a sense of loyalty toward the collective, and make sure use of them when it's convenient. It's basically how religious cults brainwash their members, and there were rumors of a couple sects they used to prey on refugee camps in Europe to get their hands on new followers. Ugh. That's disturbing. It's really disturbing, actually. Like, it's like the military's planning to use those types of tactics, you know?
そうか。嫌な話だな。
Why is the Imperial government even considering adopting this insane policy? Just a few minutes ago, I was convinced the only way to protect the present and future of this country is to teach kids how to fight. But that's completely different from turning them into robots who know nothing about war. You don't need to tell me we're desperate. It's do or die time, everyone knows that, but there's gotta be a way to let our children grow up like normal human beings. The Major knows about everything that happens in Seattle. I'm sure she's heard the rumors. Heck, she's basically the one person running the place. No chance the policy could go into effect without her blessing. I need to check for myself that rumor is true or not. Miyano isn't looking after the kids only for them to become war machines. I remember them looking at us with their eyes sparkling, hang on to every word, and you're saying those same kids are going to end up mindless robots? Yeah, not on my watch.
今さ、結婚だの出産だの奨励されてんじゃん。埋めよ増やせよ地に道よって。
I mean, I kind of get it, but that's still kind of creepy when you think about it.
らしいな。詳しくは知らんけど。
Although, isn't that actually a thing in Japan right nowadays too? Like, there are like civilian infrastructure programs in Japan that are like motivating them to like get married and have kids because, you know, they're having the population like plummet problem.
妊娠出産に関しては特別休暇と奨励金も出しますってさ。人事局に顔出してみな。見合いの斡旋までやってるぜ。
I mean, it makes sense, but it's still like it almost starts seeming like creepy, you know? What's gonna happen to the kids born this way?
ま、人間減りすぎたからな。当然といえば当然の流れだよな。そういや知ってるか？正確な人口統計を今は出してないらしいぜ。軍事機密ってことでな。
That's always terrifying.
そんなもんが機密事項なのか？
アメリカなんかにはできるだけ知られたくないんだろ。たく、それ以前に、俺は今の時代で子供作ろうってやつの気が知れねえぜ。
I kind of get that, but at the same time, I also think that there's... I don't know. It's really hard to justify, but I don't think bad times should be what makes you just decide not to have kids. I think it's a decision you just need to make on your own. My experience is that there's a lot of strength that comes from understanding like that you're part of the future, that like you have that, like having descendants, having children, and like knowing that they're going to inherit a future is motivating, and it challenges you and makes you want to be a better person. And being able to like foster the future in a way is really, really, it's cool. It really is. But I also get it. I really do. There's a lot of joy in family, but there's also a lot of fear and terror and existential horror. So it's definitely not something to jump into lightly.
帝国政府が言ってるのは、子供じゃなくて戦争の道具を作れってことだろう。この先、明るい未来なんてあるわけないのに、子供を作るなんて傲慢な真似は、俺にはできんね。
No, he's right. When he's right, he's right. Crap, I'm starting to think there's some truth to those rumors. Then again, I still have my doubts. I mean, we're going full communist? Come on now. Just think about it. If all the kids end up like robots, war machines that have no other purpose in life, no one will be left to run the place when our generation's gone. Can we leave Japan's future in the hands of people like that? No, fat chance. Because if we do that, we're done for.
そういう考えもあるかもな。
I need to ask the Major about this. I want to hear her laugh the rumor to scorn. There's no way it can be at ease until I hear the woman deny that everything, the entire thing.
ほんと、ろくでもない時代だよ。ああ、そういや、いい点が一つだけあったわ。
I think I know where this is going.
なんだよ。
女だ、女。子供を産みたいっていうバカな女が増えてる。なんせ妊娠すれば、当面の生命の危機からは逃避できるからな。
That's depressing.
だからよ、英子様が一声かければ、すぐに股を開く女は多いぜ。どうよ、今度久々に女でも引っ掛けに行かねえか？九州時代を思い出してさ。
Matsukaze, I'm sorry, but no.
ああ。
That's Matsukaze for you. Always chasing tail, like peas going out of style. That dude was obsessed with picking up chicks during our time in Kyushu.
了解。タイミングがあったらな。でも、あまり楽しくなさそうだ。
Yeah.
まあな。でも、暇つぶしにはなるぜ。
A decent way to kill time. Dude used to live and breathe game. What's happening here? Somebody pinch me because I'm gonna be dreaming.
さて、つい長話しちまった。そろそろ行くかな。宿舎が違うと、飯ですら顔合わせねえのがつまらんぜ。
I have this really terrible feeling that Matsukaze is like involved in some really shady stuff. Like it just, there's something itching at me that like he's really, like I have a feeling we're gonna run into him in the black market or something and it's not gonna be good.
そうか。俺は嬉しいぞ。飯ん時までお前の鬱陶しい顔見なくて済むからな。
言ってろバーカ。今度、ちゃんと時間作って遊び行こうぜ。
He doesn't need to, man. He's got, his squad's pretty awesome.
わかったわかった。
じゃあな。
How's this for irony? Here I am holding my report on today's visit to the orphanage. In the document, I came to the conclusion that the military education is necessary these days to ensure the kids can have a future. And just as I was on my way to deliver it, I hear a rumor that shook my faith in the very words I'd written only mere hours before. I'm pathetic, that's what I am. Though I thought I had all the answers already, I had it all figured out, except I was actually missing a crucial piece of information. Well, that's the nature of life, right? And you know what the big thing is? There's a big takeaway you should take from this. I'm going to say it again and again and again. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes, to make poor judgments based on information you have, and to acknowledge the fact that you made a mistake or that you don't know enough information, and then change your point of view. We get so caught up in people just being right all the time, we forget the fact that we all have to learn and grow. My opinions have changed since I even started this channel, so there's documentation of things that I probably said that I probably don't agree with anymore, and that's okay. It should be okay, but sometimes it feels like it's not okay, and people will always hold that kind of stuff against you, especially if it feels like it's something like controversial. And the sad thing is that like you don't even know what might end up being controversial in the future. But regardless of that, it's a good frame of reference to remember. Crap, how stupid can I be? Wait, what about Ellen and Miona? There's no way they haven't heard about this rumor. Ellen in particular, she's the kind of person to keep an ear close to the ground. She, of all people, has got to know the rumor's true or not. And you know, she's the one person who's been arguing that we need to teach our kids how to fend for themselves. I'm sure Ellen wouldn't approve of something that ends up turning them all into killer robots like Matsukaze said, so at the very least, there's strong evidence in favor of the stuff being just a rumor for the moment. Gosh darn, this bullcrap makes my blood boil. I gotta calm down and get some answers from the Major. I think that's where we're gonna end for today. Probably gonna see Major Jinguji or something else is gonna happen, but this is a good place for us to stop. Well, it's good to be back. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Again, some heavy topics. I'm a big proponent that, like, while it is good that the kids have a way of, like, contributing and a good way of, like, becoming, like, greater than they are and, like, having a future, I do think it's really dangerous for, like he's saying, like, turning kids essentially into killing robots. Like, what kind of future could be built on the backs of children who know nothing but war and death? Like, there has to be more. Which is probably why it's good that they're doing things like gardening and working in a little bit of infrastructure. But again, like, being so military focused is so dangerous. It's really scary. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. I'd love to know your thoughts on the matter, though. Like, obviously it feels like there's like easy like lines to take, but I mean, I really hope you also consider like the things we're seeing in the world right now. Tensions are high, there's a lot of unease, and there's a lot of people who are suffering. There's a lot of people who were suffering before, but it's become more apparent than ever that we're not going to just live in an idealized, fun future where, like, things are just going to be okay. It's funny because, like, we get a skewed reference because overall, humanity is a lot safer and more, like, open-minded and less combative than we've ever been in history. Like, there's less wars and deaths and displacements nowadays in the grand scheme of things by proportion of a population, like by percentiles, than any other time in history, even with current events. But that just kind of makes it all the more depressing that the current events are even happening, right? Especially because we can all see how frivolous a lot of it is, you know? So It's a good thing to keep in mind. I think Muv-Luv might be the story that's perfect for times like this. So let's keep enjoying the story, keep sharing the message, and keep keep it in our minds and hearts. Thank you especially to the patrons who help make this content even more spectacular. You guys are amazing. It's been really fun working with you. I just published a patron cast, so if you're a patron, you can see some stuff, and there's some pretty fun announcements, and I was able to share some special things there. I also have a special video coming out that's going to be a segment of that patron cast that's going to be made public in a couple of weeks. It's only going to be a small portion of it, but it's going to be a fun thing. I think I'm looking forward to share with you all. So let's jump into that. And then I've got a few other little surprises I think you're going to find in the coming weeks that are going to be a little interesting. So thank you guys so much for being here for me. It means the world to me. I look forward to reading your comments, and I don't know, having a good welcome back. You guys always spoil me, so I'm looking forward to that a lot. Thank you guys so much. I'm very happy to have each and every one of you here. And until the next video watching me, I hope to see me next. I'll see you there.